Welcome to Spin and Win the podcast. Thank you for joining us, Kellen and I. We've had a long vacation here, and now we are back to give you guys all new episodes, new guests, a lot of laughs, and a lot of fun. Welcome, fellow wheel enthusiasts, to Spin and Win the podcast. I'm Quentin.
And I'm Kellen. And together, we're here to take you on an incredible journey through the lives of Wheel of Fortune alumni.
Join us as we uncover the personal tales, triumphs, and transformations of those who spun the wheel and won big.
From cherished moments on set to the impact of their lives, we're diving deep into the stories before, during, and after their iconic Wheel of Fortune experience.
This podcast is a celebration of diverse paths, a spotlight on the incredible individuals who dare to solve puzzles and chase a fortune. So tune in.
And let's spin the wheel.
Terah, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for joining us. We truly appreciate
Good.
it.
Oh, I'm honored you guys asked. This is gonna be a lot of fun.
Yes.
So first things first, can you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. I was a teacher for 20 years. That was definitely my identity for a very long time. Left college straight into teaching and did that until the pandemic. And then things changed a lot during that time, and I ended up switching to work at Trader Joe's, which was a big change, but I did that for several years, got promoted into management, and then through a very weird turn of events, ended up working in the corporate office for Trader Joe's in accounting. So I have changed careers dramatically in the past few years since 2020.
That's very interesting. So I'm assuming that you said accounts and that you were a math teacher?
Yes, I mean, I did all the subjects,
Right.
actually primarily musical theater, but also, math and
Right.
history, language, but math was my favorite.
Wow, that's a big change.
Yeah, very, very different to work at a desk than to be in the stores, than to be in front of a classroom.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with change. Nothing at all.
No, it was a great decision. I'm very happy with where I'm at now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So can you tell us like how your wheel journey started? What made you want to get on the show?
Yeah,
And
well,
I
that's
did, of course, meet you in Vegas, and you told me you had calf pandemic and then pandemic. So
yes.
to hear more about that.
Yeah, so it's a pretty long story, so I'll try and give you just the highlights. But I had gone to a wheelmobile years and years ago when my husband was still alive, because he was like, "You got to get on the show. You're going to be so good," and I didn't get picked to go on the stage. But it kind of lit that fire in me to like send in the video and try and have an audition. So I did get one in San Diego and drove down. It did not go well. In fact, it was a very rough experience. And when you audition in person, you have to wait a year to audition again. And during that year, he passed away. So by the time I could have auditioned again, it wasn't in my heart. It wasn't something I was even thinking of. And it was a year or two after that when I was telling the story of my horrible audition to a friend. He was like, "Well, you have to try again. Like, you have to try again." So we filmed a video of me trying to get on the show in the Dave and Buster's parking lot. Took one take, I sent it in, and I got another in-person audition almost immediately. Drove to LA for that one, and it was perfect. I knew based on the audition that I was like, I'm gonna get the letter, and I did. I got the letter. They asked me to come be a standby right after that, and that was the end of season 36. So there was only one day left of taping that I got to go, and that was pre-pandemic. So it was the green room, and we all took the bus over, and Mom bonded on the way there. It was great, but I didn't get to be on the show. I got a day of watching, which was awesome because I felt like that was kind of an advantage that I had by being a part of the audience for 6 different episodes before I got to be on. So we go into summer. They're not filming. They say, "We're going to call you next year, season 37. Just be waiting." So I waited and I waited and I waited. I was hoping they'd call me for teacher week, and they didn't. And so, I kept thinking, I was like, "Did I do something wrong? I hope that they'll still call me." But then they shut down for COVID. So again, I was not sure if it was ever going to happen. You guys remember life at that time. We didn't know if anything would ever come back.
Oh yeah, that was horrible.
Yeah, it was like, well, will a fortune even happen again? And so when they came back, they called me for teacher week. which ironically I wasn't a teacher anymore. So I said no, I couldn't do that one, but they ended up asking me to go back for road trip, which was 2 weeks later, and the rest was history. Then I finally made it on.
Yay. Oh, yay. So, what was it like being a COVID contestant? Like, I know it's different from like traditional, but like, what was that day like? Because I've heard from other people white things. I heard, did you guys have to
Yeah.
sit on dots or?
Yeah, so as opposed to the first experience that I had which was pre-COVID, the COVID experience, they didn't sit us in a room close together. We actually sat in the Jeopardy audience, spaced out 6 feet. Now there was like a COVID police that was there to make sure like we never even in line, we were always 6 feet apart. I mean, this was right after things were coming back, so they were very, very careful about keeping us apart. I think the only time we took off our masks at all was while we were filming, and then we did have a lunch break that we kind of got a chance to sit and talk and eat with each other, but it didn't have that same like bonding feeling from the previous experience because we just couldn't really talk to each other. We were just kept very far apart. And then when we finally got to take our masks off and film, the show, that felt like the real show, although this was the first time they had separated. The wheel got further, they spread out the contestants further apart. And, we didn't have an audience. We couldn't bring our friends and family. The only people in the audience were other contestants. So that felt different too. And then we had the white thing, which was basically a glorified bicycle handle that you would, hold on to and grab the spoke and spin the wheel. And it wasn't that big of a challenge to use. However, it did make me almost spin with my left hand twice because I would pick it up with my left hand and forget and go to reach to spin the wheel with my left hand instead of my right. So I actually can see myself shake my head at myself on the show because I tried to do that.
Wow. Yeah. So how did your game go? Like, how did that go?
So the first part was rough. The first 2 toss-ups I didn't get, and the second one killed me because it was half marathon, and I run half marathons. So I was like, I can't believe I didn't get that one. And then the first puzzle, the girl that was getting it, she hit big numbers, and she almost got a bankrupt, and it was going to go to me, but it didn't. So she won $8,000 in the first game, and I was like, awesome. Going on the first commercial break, I was like, you know what? I came all this way. I waited all the time to get on the show, and I'm not even going to solve a puzzle. Like, that's great. But then the next game, the puzzle was Department of Transportation, which of course is a very long word with a lot of letters. And I had landed on the $3,500 wedge and called the T. So Pat, of course, did I don't know about your math skills, but that's $17,500. And of course I, didn't want that to stress me out to not, be able to solve the puzzle. But I just remember thinking, okay, I have all the money I need to buy vowels. Like, at least I can buy the vowels. And so that helped because then by the time I solved the puzzle, it was at $22,000. So one great game, made it so that I was almost assured to be in the bonus round. Almost, you never know what happens. But then I won the prize puzzle, which was great. I said it was Beachside Cabana, got to go to the Dominican Republic. Wow. But probably the thing I'm the most proud of, well, the 2 things I'm the most proud of, one was triple toss-up. I solved Jennifer Garner as one of the solves, and she tweeted about it, or Instagram. She took a picture of, and I'm in it, and she said 6 letters, what an honor. And it was, on her official page. And so that, being a fan, made me giddy that I was recognized for solving her name. And then, of course, solving my prize puzzle was amazingly, the letter F came out of my mouth, and I still don't know how it happened because it was homemade taffy. And had I not got those double Fs, it would have been a pretty tough solve. So, and won the 38,000. So my total ended up being pretty close to $72,000. It was not a bad day.
Oh,
that's
wow,
awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. So, how would you say that being on the Wheel of Fortune changed your life after, if it did?
Well, financially, for sure. Up until, well, by the first time I had auditioned when I was still married, we were really, really poor. I mean, I remember even just thinking, man, I just need to get on the show just to win the $1,000 because that would make such a difference in my life. And by the time I actually got on, especially with the job change and different things happening through the pandemic, I was a little better off financially. But having that money made it a lot easier to survive in Orange County, California, which is not easy financially. And with the job changes, I ended up moving twice. And both times it was like, because I had saved the money and not spent it, I had the money to break leases and pay for movers and do the things that I would have not been able to do, without that money. So that was great. Bought my next car outright with cash, which, I've always had a car payment. And so that was huge. And I still, throughout been able to keep some saved and just feel like I have that cushion for a rainy day, which is mentally huge.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great. So do you still keep in touch with your opponents or people that were at the tape date?
Yeah, Victoria, I never could find. I don't see her on social media. I tried. I looked for her, but she's maybe not a Facebook, Instagram person because she's supposed to live in LA. So it would, I would love to reconnect with her. But Dustin and I are Facebook friends. He actually talked about going to Vegas and didn't make it, but he's a great guy. Also somewhat local because all of us were from California at the time because all the contestants came from here during that phase. But yeah, so I definitely, every once in a while we'll message on Facebook or something. But for my actual tape day, I couldn't even tell you the rest of the contestants' names really because I didn't even get to talk to them. That's not true. There was one other guy who did really well, and we kept in contact for a little while because he had said he wasn't going to tell his wife how he did, and I wanted to find out if he really was able to keep the secret. He didn't, but
I don't know. That's the thing because I was like, no, actually, my dad was like, after I filmed, my dad was like, so Frat, how'd he do? My dad said he did terrible. He just saw no puzzle. He didn't get no money. He did terrible.
That's awesome. I did that joke at my watch party when we finally were able to do it because again, COVID had opened up a little bit more and we were able to do a patio watch party at Buffalo Wild Wings. And of course, because I had done so bad at the beginning, I looked at all my friends and I'm like, well, I invited you all here to watch me lose on Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, a lot of people were actually, I think, kind of surprised that I did it because they're like, dude, like you've been obsessed with that show since you were little. I can't believe you actually did it.
You did it, right? And you killed at it.
And I was just like, I know. And I know. And even like how I did, I was like, I was nervous just seeing Pat walk up to the spot. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it's intimidating,
Yeah, no, and also he was like, well, the doors are bolted. I can't leave.
It's happening now, whether I like it or not.
Yeah, that's the thing. But I don't know, because like a lot of people, like I told some people, but they were like, oh, they were like, I can't believe I actually did it. I was like, I know.
Yeah. And you did it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even doing it twice, because people like, I told somebody yesterday, he was like, I've never seen that.
And you've never seen Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, and I was just like, I know that's what I was saying. Well, actually, at first I thought they made a mistake. That's what I thought. Because at first, and actually, I texted Christian Dix, who also was on Fan Favorites.
Right.
Because I texted him about it. He was like, "Wait, did they make like a mistake?" I was like, "No, they said they won't bring."
Oh my god!
Well, it's because you were memorable, and that was awesome. It was a great episode. I just watched it recently, and I loved it. Loved getting to see you shine.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It was just something I wanted to do, and actually, she didn't get to come to Vegas, but I told you about her. My professor, a few Willems know her, but my professor was on season 39, so she had the similar COVID experience, and she, actually, because I didn't make it the first time, and I told her, like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna keep trying because they probably know who I am. They don't want me to come. They don't want me to be on that show. And she was like, no, you gotta keep trying because I've been trying for 10 years and I finally made it.
Wow. Well, that's but you bring up the Vegas thing. That would be the other thing I would say that just was such an impactful thing on my life was just the connections and the friendships that we've been able to make with other alumni. I had no idea the ripple effects of